All right, this is our help video for quiz 5.08. This is the last quiz in Unit 5. Woohoo! All right, so here's your need to know info. The first one is this formula, density equals mass divided by volume. Y'all, here's an easy way to remember it. You can either think of DMV, like the Department of Motor Vehicles, or you can think of this sweet little heart. If you remember that it has to create a heart, then you'll remember to put the M on top and the V on the bottom. So that's just a way to help you remember, because this formula is not on the formula sheet. But you have density equals mass divided by the volume. And you can rearrange this any way you want, depending on whether you're solving for the density or the mass or the volume, and we'll look at that. But just in general, you need to memorize this formula. You also need to know population density, and that's the number of people divided by the land area. So let's jump right in. The population of a city is this, and the land area is this. What is the population density? All right, so we're just going to take our population density formula, which says the population density, I'm just going to put PD for population density, equals the number of people, which is 578,992. And we need to divide that by the land area. And it says the land area is 67.2 miles squared. So then it just becomes a calculator problem. And you get this decimal that says approximately 8615.95 blah, 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 blah. But it wants us to round it to the nearest whole number. So if I want to round it to the nearest whole number, I need to look at the first decimal place. And that 9 is going to make that 5 go up to a 6. So the answer here would be about 8,616 people per every square mile. So within every square mile, there's about 8,616 people. All right, a biologist is researching the population density of lizards near a boulder in the desert. The biologist counts 15 lizards within a radius of 1/4 mile. What is the population density? Okay, so again, we have our population density formula. The population density equals the number of people, in this case it's the number of lizards, and he counts 15 lizards, over the land area. 1/4 is not the area. What we've got going on here is we have this big boulder, and it says within a radius of 1/4. That means if we're dealing with a radius, we have a circle here. So within this circle, he found 15 lizards. Well, we need to know the area of that circle. So we need to use pi times radius squared. And that's on your formula sheet. Sorry, I forgot to put it on the need to know info. But pi, it says to use 3.14. The radius is 1/4. You can put that in your calculator as 1/4 or 0.25. It's the same thing. And then we'll just multiply it out to get the land area. And I got that the area of that circle is approximately 0.19625. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down here for land area. And then I'm going to divide to figure out the population density. Okay, so I got that the population density is approximately 76.433, yada, yada, yada. And it says to round your final answer to the nearest whole number. So if we want to go to the nearest whole number, we look at the decimal behind it, and that 4 is going to keep that 76 the same. So there's about 76 lizards per square mile. Okay, the next one. The density of iron is 7.8 grams per centimeters cubed, An iron beam has a volume of 10,504 centimeters cubed. What is the mass of the iron beam? All right, so anytime we're dealing with density, volume, and mass, we're going to remember our formula. And just remember, when you write it out, you want this to create a heart. Oh, so it's D equals M over V. Density equals mass divided by volume. In this case, we're just going to plug in everything we know. We know the density is 7.8, so that's going to go in for D. We know the volume is 10,504, so that's going to go in for V. And then we don't know the mass, so we're just going to leave it as M, and we're going to solve for the mass. So right now I'm dividing by this 10,504. The opposite of that, if I want to get that M by itself, would be to multiply each side by that number. This would cancel, leave me with just M equals, and then I'm going to multiply that in my calculator. And I got 81931.2. And it just says entered as a decimal, so we don't want to round it, so we're just going to leave it like that. And that mass is in grams. Oops. Okay. Isabella is bouncing a rubber ball that has a density of 1.5 grams per centimeters cubed. The rubber ball has a volume of 113 centimeters cubed. What is the mass of the rubber ball? So again, we're dealing with density, volume, and mass. So we're going to do D equals M over V. Make sure it creates that heart so that you know you have it all in the right spot. And then plug in what you know. For density, I'm going to plug in 1.5. For volume, I'm going to plug in 113. And we don't know the mass yet, so I'm going to leave it as M. And then to solve, I want to get rid of 113. Right now it's dividing. The inverse operation is to multiply. I'm going to use this because, there we go. That'll cancel. And then I'm going to type in 113 times 1.5. And I got 169.5 grams, which is A. All right, last question. A block of walnut wood has a mass of 84.96 grams and a density of 0.59 grams per centimeters cubed. The block is a rectangular prism with a length of 2 and a width of 8. What is the height of the block? Okay, so we got a lot going on here, but we start off with mass and density. So I'm going to go ahead and use that formula. Remember, you want it to make a heart, so it's D equals M over V. And I'm going to plug in what I know. I know the mass is 84.96. I know the density is 0.59. What I don't know this time is the volume. So I'm going to leave that as the letter V. And I'm going to try to isolate or get volume by itself. Right now, volume is stuck in the bottom of the fraction though, and I don't want it there. So I'm going to multiply by the volume on each side. That's going to cancel it out on this side, but then it's going to bring it to the top over here, which is really kind of what I wanted. So I have the volume times 0.59 equals 84.96. Now I'm still trying to solve for volume, so now I need to get rid of this 0.59. And I'm multiplying, so the inverse operation would be to divide. That would cancel. And so I'm going to go ahead and divide those two to figure out the volume. And the volume here is 144, and that's always in units cubed. I forgot what my units were, centimeters. Unfortunately, the question doesn't say what is the volume. The question says what is the height. So now we need to go back and think about, okay, we're dealing with a rectangular prism, kind of like a tissue box or, you know, any three-dimensional rectangular prism. And so the volume for that is length times width times height. So let's go ahead and plug in what we know. We know the length is 2. We know the width is 8. We don't know the height. That's what we're trying to solve for. But we also know the volume because we just solved for the volume down here. I'm going to plug that in for volume. And now we can solve this equation to try to figure out the height. So 2 times 8 is 16. I want to get the h by itself. Right now I'm multiplying, so the inverse or the opposite operation would be to divide. And 144 divided by 16 is 9. So our height is going to be 9 centimeters. All right, guys, good luck on your quiz.